A steel pipe a few inches thick was thrust directly at the man. Immediately after, his mouth was forced open, and a small bomb was shoved right inside. With a soft poof, the bomb detonated quickly within him. This is the process every prisoner entering this prison must go through. Some prisoners completely break down after just the first step. But once a prisoner crosses the yellow line, the small bomb inside them activates pain mode. Crossing the red line is a death sentence, indeed. In each new batch of prisoners, a few will test their fate, ultimately reminding others that this prison is truly and simply inescapable. Deep beneath a desolate desert lies the prison, a massive 3-story fortress where inmates serve varying sentences. John, sentenced to years, arrived at his designated floor. The prisoners looked quite menacing and hardened, and intimidating, yet they remained quite subdued, constantly watched by overhead surveillance cameras and watchful guards around the clock. John was escorted to the cell. The large man inside clearly wasn't happy at all to see them, but the drone very quickly detected his immediate and fierce resistance. The 5-second countdown beep immediately started. The burly man quickly smiled and welcomed him. The prison cell, without a door, kept prisoners from approaching. The laser defense line could instantly penetrate their bodies. Freshly arrived, John didn't realize this extreme prison monitored even the prisoners' dreams. Even if the warden of the control room detects prisoners having very pleasant and comforting dreams and activates the pain mode in their stomach implants, John still remains truly hopeful because his wife has escaped extremely successfully and safely. The day before, John and his pregnant wife were trying to leave the city when she was discovered to be pregnant at security. In this world of scarce resources, families are only allowed one child. John's first child died shortly after birth, so he and his wife secretly conceived a second child in secret, filled with hope and love. During their escape, John bravely stayed behind to hold them off, buying his wife valuable time to flee. He was sentenced to years, but knowing she could protect their unborn child gave him great hope and joy. He always believed he could escape one day, eventually, and finally be reunited with his family and loved ones, fulfilling the cherished dream and rebuilding their lives together. Unbeknownst to John, many suffered brutal torture for prison rule violations, effectively reduced to living corpses. Even when his own safety was at great risk, John stood up to protect bullied inmates. Little did they know, the man's forehead bore a number, clearly marking him as a death row inmate, guilty of cold-blooded murder. Just as everyone thought John was doomed, motion sensors detected violent acts, and all three involved were immediately locked in laser cells. The bullied youth was the first to crack, easily burned by stray laser blasts. The system detected his emotional collapse and tried to prompt him to identify the initial aggressor. Seeing the young man's pain and conflict, John stepped forward to take full responsibility for everything. This led to him being brought to the warden's office, and there John quickly learned that his wife was also imprisoned there. The couple's pain responses were simultaneously activated. The warden wanted John to clearly understand exactly who was in charge in this prison. Ironically, his wife's imprisonment only intensified John's desire to escape. Just another inmate John disrespected. He wasn't about to let it slide. They brawled fiercely in the cell. The fight was spotted very quickly by the cameras, but the warden deliberately and actively blocked the system's attempt to stop it, intently watching on. A plot was slowly brewing in his mind. Little did John know, win or lose this fight, he had already fallen into the warden's trap. Driven by an infatuation with John's wife, ever since he witnessed their intimate moments in John's dreams, the warden orchestrated a truly cruel and elaborate setup. John was strapped tightly to the prototype rig. His head was wide with monitors. The prototype rig slowly whirred to life, rotating his body a full 360 degrees in a continuous, dizzying motion. This special device was a unique and cruel form of prison punishment. Indeed, as the spinning dragged on relentlessly and endlessly, his mind began to blur, but the warden in the control room remained calm, negotiating terms with the punished man's wife.
For a companion.
I'm not real friendly to anyone who tortures my husband.
The warden, after being rejected, remained silent, simply zooming in further on the footage of John's torment. John had been captured for 3 full days already, and according to their data, no prisoner had ever lasted 4. Seeing her tortured husband, the woman had no choice but to become the warden's companion. Only then did the warden order the man's release. But John, returned to his cell, was a shell of his former self. His spirit was completely broken. He wouldn't react even if someone burned his palm. Fortunately, he had protectors in the prison system. Afterwards, John was carefully looked after by his fellow inmates. 4 months have flown by so quickly. My wife has earned the warden's trust and managed to get him thoroughly drunk despite his low tolerance. Seizing her chance, she slipped into the control room. As a senior engineer, she quickly figured out the system's operation. Using the device, she precisely located her husband, and then gently entered his deep and complex street. Before the warden awoke, she successfully pulled her lost husband back from the abyss, fully and completely restoring his sanity. The first thing his cellmate told him was that his wife was living in the warden's office, enjoying a truly envied life by all the prisoners. Although John couldn't speak to his wife directly, a fellow inmate who diligently served the warden knew full well that his awakening was due to his wife's secret help and intervention. Black told his wife about John's escape plan. With the couple working together, John felt his chances of breaking out were greatly improved. Just then, they carefully dismantled the small explosive from the scissors. The reason everyone fears this prison is because before entering, each inmate has a tiny bomb implanted deep within their body. Any disobedience will certainly result in truly unbearable pain from the bomb. Indeed. After the bespectacled young man's verification, a way to disarm the bomb was discovered. Inside the bomb is a magnet, theoretically. With a suction from this bomb in hand, there's a good chance to remove the bomb inside me. To join the escape, the strong man eagerly volunteered, even though every move brings terrible nausea and pain. To escape this hellish prison, he persevered with great effort and firm determination, and the bomb was successfully expelled at last. Extracting the bomb is only the first step. To escape, they must find a flaw in the prison structure. John's wife discreetly took the prison's holographic map while the warden was distracted. She then smuggled it to the cell through Old Black. Using the laser grid at the entrance, they successfully located an escape route. Unexpectedly, the laser's intense heat sent the map and glasses flying outside the cell. As the security camera steadily neared, John still couldn't quite reach them. If they're caught stealing the map, none of them will escape. In the nick of time, John risked being impaled to retrieve his glasses. Although the crisis was averted, the holographic map ended up in the warden's office, courtesy of Old Black. But the warden suddenly discovered the map was damaged. Bai Ha and Lao He quickly claimed it was accidentally bumped while cleaning. The warden was angry, but didn't investigate further. Everything was absolutely ready and perfectly in place. We carefully planted the small bomb on the prison pipes, then staged a riot to trigger the alarm. The surveillance cameras clearly captured John's wife stealing the map. The warden was deemed unfit by the system and subsequently lost his control privileges. Suddenly, the system, detecting a very significant disturbance, immediately issued a critical warning. A pipe burst open, releasing a blast of extremely hot steam. Their escape plan was discovered. Surrender demands echoed loudly from just outside the pipe. One man foolishly believed them, and as he peeked out slightly, he was met with immediate machine gun fire. Faced with 3 holdouts, the prison deployed heavily armed robots very quickly indeed. Cornered and desperate, the 3 men dragged a robot into the pipes and hid themselves. To their utter surprise, a real person was actually inside the mechanical armor. Never imagined they'd fuse living people with machines, creating incredibly powerful and truly formidable cyborgs. John, with absolutely no time to waste at all, quickly snatched the cyborg's heavy machine gun. He was ready to break out very quickly. Meanwhile, John's wives met up with Big Black, but their escape was quickly thwarted by the warden, who firmly grabbed Big Black tightly by the neck. The woman smashed a glass and then stabbed the warden with a shard. Who knew the warden bled machine horn? Not blood. Turns out, he was a cyborg. Stabbing him repeatedly was utterly useless and ineffective, so John moved his way out with the machine gun in hand. Even though the 3 were locked down by the devices, the ID scanners simply never worked, primarily because they had all completely removed the implants. The 3 climbed onto the rising machine. The other inmates cheered them on very loudly and excitedly. Despite the advanced AI, it truly lacked adaptability. The 3 of them stormed the prison control room, but John's pregnant wife had already been taken to the operating room. According to local laws, a woman is only allowed to have 1 child. John's wife violated this regulation by conceiving a 2nd child. Following local laws, the procedure can only save the mother or the child. Under John's coercion, the warden halted the surgery, but the system detected the duress. Indeed, the system doesn't negotiate with hostages. When the warden was clearly forced to lead them all to the operating room, the system quickly deemed him a very serious security threat and treated him like a bomb. Only then did everyone realize the system was indeed the core control here. Just then, a man tried inputting commands to take control, but he was surrounded by robots. He was beaten to death, with John's wife about to undergo surgery. The barely alive Brennan desperately issued the final command, paralyzing the entire prison system. All the robots froze, and chaos erupted within the prison. Amidst the chaos, John quickly found his wife on the operating table. The three located a car and sped through the prison gates, just as they were closing tightly. They drove onward until John's wife was in unbearable pain, forcing them to stop in front of a quiet house. As they took a break from driving, the car suddenly started on its own and crashed violently towards the intended location. Thankfully, John and his wife dodged in time, avoiding the initial impact. It's clear the car was hijacked, turning around to charge John again. John confronted it head-on with a machine gun. The out-of-control vehicle crashed into the house. John's wife was inside the house. Just as John was overcome with grief, the distinct cry of a baby came from nearby. This sci-fi action film came out over 30 years ago, and yet its visionary concepts and incredibly detailed mechanical designs are still truly impressive.